March 1st. Hard to believe, huh? Hard to believe.
You ready?
Ready for what?
Question.
Oh, I'm ready.
I have a question. Okay. Can you talk about the changes in Aubrey from when you first brought her here 18 years ago until what she's become today, on and off the court?
I don't think there's been many changes in terms of, her as a person, other than, you're a little bit older and you have a little bit more world experience, but I think by the time, you hope anyway, by the time kids get to be seniors, that they've grown up, they've had a lot of experiences that they didn't have when they were 17 and 18. But if you pick the right kids, they're basically the same people. They're the same, I think on the court, the unfortunate thing on the court is the being able to grow on the court was stunted a little bit because of the injuries and the kind of injuries that affect your ability to move as quickly as you used to move. When you have a back issue, that's usually retirement for a lot of athletes. And then the ACL, it's a lot. It's a lot to overcome, and especially at a time when last January, she was playing the best basketball of her career. So now to get back to that, but you saw, the other night, the impact that she can have on a game. So she still has, she could still be as impactful as she's ever been. It's just, I think, a shame because it's less than the kind of impactful she could have been without those injuries.
Because the other thing, when you recruited her, she wasn't like a top 10, top 15 recruit. And you took her and she believed in you because I remember that year was kind of a tough recruiting year for you.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about when you have a lot of players, sometimes it's not as easy recruiting-wise. But I just, we saw, I think we saw the potential that she could have. She played in a system where they played fast, they played full court. She's had to work to become a better shooter. A lot of her baskets in high school were all transition baskets. But yeah, it's been such a long time. I don't even remember her freshman year, to be honest with you. I remember her Seton Hall game, but I don't remember a lot about that freshman year. Was that a bubble year? Was that a bubble year?
20.
Year before the bubble.
The NCAA tournament didn't happen.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Crystals.
She made the all-tournament team
That's right.
at American.
Yeah, it was that year was kind of a blur for me. I don't remember much of it.
Kind of on that, this senior group has been through a lot in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Just, do you feel a different kind of connection with this group, having been through so much adversity with them?
Some of these guys, well, actually, I don't even think they're all, how many have been here an extra year, right? Aubrey's been here. Paige has been here. I don't think AZ was part of the COVID
It's 3 separate classes.
situation.
Yeah, 3 separate classes.
Caitlin hasn't been here. It's a weird makeup of a class. They haven't spent a lot of time together on the court. So usually when you have seniors like, let's hear, where Aaliyah and Nika come in together and they spent 4 years and fortunate enough to play 4 years together. It's an odd mix this year, and each of them has their own story. Really, for me, it's been fun to watch them navigate all this, because it hasn't been easy for them. And everybody says that, when you were a teenager going through the whole pandemic cycle, that it did leave a mark somehow, some way. I mean, and I'm glad that, they're getting to finish it out, in a way that they can be together, on and off the court. They've been pretty tight together off the court, these guys, but it's nice for them to finish with all of them on the court, So.
Was there ever a time where you wondered whether Caroline and Aubrey would play again here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Whenever someone has, multiple surgeries, as Aubrey had, from high school and then 2 in college, you don't know what's going to be the breaking point, And then for Carol, when you sit out that long, and you're talking about the kind of things that are difficult to come back with, even without playing basketball. Of course, yeah, there was always that thought in the back of my brain, for sure.
What's impressed you the most about Caroline's just dedication to wanting to come back?
I mean, the wanting to come back is part of, this. If you love the game, like if you're a kid that doesn't love basketball, there'd be no point for you to hang around and even attempt to come back. You would just walk away from it and say, I'm done. But she has such a love for the game and feels I still have a lot to offer, and wanted to at least give it a shot and see where it takes her. And again, none of us had any idea whether it would ever happen or not. So I'm thrilled for her that it's been possible, and I know it meant a lot to her, meant a lot to her teammates.
The other freshman that you brought in with Aubrey, Anna Makarat, did you see she signed with the Phoenix Mercury?
No, I didn't see that. It's funny. Some of these kids are they're lifers, They just can't get away from the game, and Anna was one of them. And I think that's a big reason why she had to leave and go back to Europe, because for some kids it's easier to make the adjustment here, and other kids it's not. But that doesn't mean they ever give up on the game, give up on playing. I hope something comes out of it, I hope. I did see her when we went to Europe 2 summers ago, right? She came to one of our games in, I think one of the games in Croatia, I think it was. But no, I didn't see that. Yeah, maybe she's replacing D. I don't know. How about that? Good for her.
What happened with Morgan? Was it just like a buildup of...
Morgan? Yeah. I don't know. She said it was about a month ago or something, maybe longer, where she felt like she did, tweaked it or something, and then, do your normal stuff and play through it, and actually, never ever complained about it one time ever. And then all of a sudden, after the Providence game, I guess it was, she just, felt kind of pain that she hadn't felt before that. And then, the MRI showed that there was a crack in here. So it's unfortunate, It really is. But it's fixed, and she'll come back 100%.
You said the last availability that Ice might be back this weekend. Is there any chance of that happening? Or
She went through a little more today than she did any other time since. So we'll go through shoot around tomorrow, and if she still feels pretty good, we'll give it a shot. If not, then it'll have to be next weekend.
it'd be kind of the same thing with what you have to do is trying to just find a time when you can get her in.
Yeah. The fact that she's, bigger than some of the other guys, it gives us another option to Jenna, other than having to go that small. We can still play Ice and Sarah together and still be able to function with some of the big kids that we're going to have to guard down the road.
How do you like it when Sarah's at the 5? How's that?
I love it. I wish we could do it all the time. But, obviously we can't, but it's an impossible matchup for the other teams. And people aren't used to, when she plays with Jenna, people aren't used to guarding her because of her skill level. Then when you put her out there and she's in the middle of the floor directing traffic and is, fantastic passer. You think about it, we played that lineup a lot. And it's, when you go by the analytics of what's the best plus minus numbers that we have are with that smaller lineup. It's not great for everyday use, but it's pretty effective.
Paige started to mention that she hasn't necessarily started thinking about all the lasts that are coming up for her yet. Or, she had her last XL game the other day. This is senior day. Have you started thinking about that? These are some of the last, practices, games you'll have with her, anything along those lines, or is it more so being present?
I think since it lasts, I should say it takes effect a little bit later than it used to, because back in the day when we didn't necessarily maybe have NCAA tournament games at home, and you knew this was the last game ever that you're going to play on this court. But now I think that time between the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament, when you're at practice, that's when it really kind of has the biggest effect. That But even then, I would say, the deeper you go in the NCAA tournament, it's coming to an end. That's when it really, boom, starts to hit you. So, just trying to enjoy it, right now. I'm looking forward to the day I really, really like her. Like next October or November, or this summer when I'm watching her play in the WNBA. I'll feel really proud of her, and I really feel like a warm spot in my heart for her. So I'm looking forward to that day.
She mentioned,
it's just not today.
She mentioned she's really trying to stay present this year. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that in her?
Yeah, I think so. Like with any kid, I think you can't help but think about it. It's obviously part of your future, and it's pretty emotional. So maybe you don't want to think about it too much because there is that emotion, and you maybe don't even have to deal with it until you have to. So I've been really happy, really impressed with how she's been able to stay pretty grounded the whole time and not get distracted. she hasn't changed her routine. That hasn't been any different. You know, if you see her, she's the last one on the court. You know, at our practice facility, she's the last one to leave. So I'm sure she doesn't want to give any thought to, you know, these are my last couple weeks that I'll be able to be in here. I don't blame her, but you know, she's been good about that. She's been good about that.
You said on Tuesday that your relationship with Paige is kind of a love-and-hate relationship. What's it been like with AZ, watching her these past 4 years as she's dealt with also those interruptions as well?
Yeah, a lot of these kids, you know, they've really been through a lot, and you know, I think my conversations with Paige recently have been, I mean, with AZ recently have been, you know, what it feels like to play this many games, knock on wood, kind of sort of injury-free, you know, for this long. And that's something that's been completely foreign to her, right? And she's another one. Like, you know, I haven't given any, you know, I haven't given any thought to, you know, what comes next. You know, I think both of them, you know, when you think about it, have had the game taken away from them for such a long period of time that they really kind of cherish the moments that they have. Even Ice is a different person today than she was before she hurt her shoulder. Because I think like when you were a freshman and she dislocated her knee, she had no idea what she was missing. Zero. And now after playing and having the success that she had last year at the tournament and how much she helped us in the Big East, in the NCAA tournament, now all of a sudden it goes away and she's devastated. And she spent the entire time like really, really, really working her brains out. So then when she came back, and this is the best she's looked since she's been at Connecticut. So when you have something taken away that you really love, it scares the hell out of you. And when you come back, you do come back with a renewed sense of purpose, you know?
Caroline and AZ both have another year if they want it. I know Carol's not working tomorrow, AZ is. Have you had conversations with them at all about just kind of what their future looks like?
For Carol, you know, none of us knew where this was going this year. So there wasn't a lot of thought about what happens next year, you know? Some conversations involved, you know, if there is basketball, this is what it'll look like. If there isn't basketball, what do you want it to look like? You know, if you want to stay involved, how can we make that happen? If you want to play, how do we work on that? If you can't play, don't want to be involved, how will that look like? So you try to go through some scenarios, but for her, it always came back with, I'm playing. Now, there's always, I'm playing. For AZ, she's kind of the worst decision maker that I've ever seen, right? It was like that during recruiting. It's been like that her whole life, her whole career here. I'm not making any decisions, so I have to make them. La, 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 la. So, you know, who knows? I think I don't even know when does the portal open. Does anybody know? What's the day you have to get in the portal? Like March 15th, 16th, something like that.
The WNBA is 48 hours
After.
Yeah, but yeah, that's at the end of your season.
Yeah.
So, you know, these kids all know. You know, the guys that are in her situation. You know, there's going to come a time when we absolutely, positively have to know. You know, it can't go to, you know, 48 hours before the WNBA. You know, I got caught. I wish we had the portal back then. Well, even back then, when Azare shocked the hell out of me. You know, she walked in after the Final Four and goes, "By the way, I'm going to the WNBA." So where the hell did that come from? Then you realize, you know, people get in your ear and they tell you this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So, yeah, anymore now, you know, when will you know? When I know. And even when I know, I'm not sure I know.
You've seen it both ways. You've seen people come back and you've seen people go to the pros. From your end, you just let them, when they're ready to talk to you, they talk to you. And just
No, we you know, you have to have conversations about it at some point. I just don't want it to be a distraction for them during the season. But they all know that after the Big East tournament, that's when we really got to sit down and start, you know, finding out what your thoughts are. And as I said, it's much more difficult today than it's ever been because there's so many factors that go in and so many people, you know, that have a say, you know, in what's going to happen. So part of me is planning for AZ to be back, and there's a part of me that's planning for her to go. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think she's ready?
Do I think she's ready? I mean, I've always thought to myself that, you know, players have to be tremendously confident when they leave here about what the next step for them is. And I just want her to make sure that she's played enough basketball here, done enough things, tested herself enough that she feels completely 100% ready to go. And again, kids may ask my opinion, but in the end, they're going to have to make that decision, you know. And it doesn't happen very often on the women's side where you have to make those decisions, you know. Although, if it comes down to it, the NCAA says every kid's going to get 5 years of eligibility. Like, that's got to be like a bizarre, like ridiculous thing, right? Like, everybody's got to get 5 years. So what, if you get hurt and you miss a year, you get 6? And if you get hurt twice, you get 7? You know?
Those football players, by the 5th year, they're a sophomore.
Yeah. I mean, like, what are we doing here? You know, like, every school's, you know, it's like playing, every school would be like playing at BYU, you know? Everybody's got 25-year-olds on their team, you know? So there's going to be more of this where kids have the opportunity to stay or go. And there'll be more teams in the WNBA, so there'll be maybe more opportunities to go. And, well, NIL, you should stay in college because you'll make more money. That's not always the deciding factor. You can't tell me that all these guys in men's basketball that declare for the draft are doing it for the money. Right? There's only 60 people drafted, right? And there's 250 people that declare for the draft at the end of the year. And there's only 60 of them going to get drafted. I just think it's whether do you like school or not? Do you like the lifestyle of a student that plays basketball, or do you not? So I don't even think it's about, am I ready to go? Am I not ready to go? Am I going to get drafted here? Am I going to get drafted there? I just think, are you finished with this lifestyle? Are you done? Or do you still enjoy going to school, hanging out in this environment and playing, you know, doing all this? Or it's time to go, man. I've had enough. I'm done. I usually find that's what it comes down to.
With Caitlin and Aubrey, we obviously kind of know Paige's WNBA situation, but where do you feel like they stand in terms of being pro prospects as they're getting ready to come out?
Again, I think with more teams comes more opportunities. I do think for sure Caitlin will get drafted. Where, I don't know. You know, I don't know what the market is for, but I know there's usually tremendous need for point guards at that level. And she's had a terrific year, right? More people have gotten to see her. Everybody knew who she was. She was on everybody's board somewhere along the line at Princeton, and not enough people actually saw her play. So now that she's been, you know, visible for an entire season and played pretty well at a real high level, I do think her draft stock is going up. Aubrey, I don't think enough people have seen her play enough. So She may be one of those that gets an opportunity to go to a variety of places and have an opportunity to make a team. I haven't heard, but that's my guess.